Hello. So happy New Year. I thought I would create a little video today and share a little bit about vision, and particularly some of the nuances around vision. I imagine that many people who catch this video probably have experience of creating a vision board or working with visioning, but there are some nuances, so I'm going to go into this in a little bit more detail today and really explain how a vision can be used as a tool to create change working with our neurology. So the first thing to say, the super basic thing to say, is that a vision is very different from a set of goals, because a good vision, what it does is it actually works on a neurological level. It creates a little mini dopamine hit when we tune into it and when we get inspired by it. And that increase in dopamine gives us a kind of oomph to get going, moving towards it. So for that reason, it's really, really important that a vision is both in the positive. It's what you do want in your life, not what you want to get rid of or what you don't want. And it's also inspiring to you. And then there's something really important about regularly practicing letting yourself into that imaginal experience of what the vision would be like. So this isn't just visualization, it's working with all of the senses. And as you'll hear later on in the video, this is really important because it's actually working on a neurological level. So that's the basics, that's like the basics. And often people will create a vision of their world, the things that inspire them, and that's great. And then the next step is to think a little bit about the inner vision that goes with that. So if my vision was around a new relationship, I'd be asking myself, well, what man would I need to become to be the person that the partner that I want would be attracted to? So what would I need to embody to be in my vision? And this step often gets missed, and it is a crucial component to creating change. Actually, what I hear from so many people is that when they work on the inner level, when they're clear what their inner vision is and they do the inner work on themselves, actually that has a knock-on effect on the outer world, which is actually more powerful often than trying to get the circumstances of life into place to make the vision manifest. So obviously this requires some inner work, and often you might think, well, I couldn't possibly be that person in my vision. I'm pretty far away from that. If that's the case, then that is a good sign. It shows that the vision has growth within it, something to grow into. And it also probably shows that there are some blocks. And of course, this is really the work of self-leadership. And it's good to have some guidance on that, both to notice what the core beliefs are that are getting in the way, and also what you're doing in relationship to yourself that are creating those blocks. I'll say a little bit more about that later on. But I want to come back to this kind of creating change, and particularly creating change within ourselves. What are we doing and how we're working with vision? Because what we're doing with the vision is we're really using our imagination to create a new neural pathway in our brain. So if you think about it, this is the way the brain works, right? We have different neural connections in our brain, and when they fire more, they wire more strongly. So the pathways that we walk down on a regular basis become super strong. That's how we learn to do stuff. So we probably all have a neural pathway for making a cup of tea, a neural pathway for driving a car. It kind of becomes automatic when we're good at it. But not all of our neural pathways are are that useful. I mean, most of us in this day and age have a highly developed neural pathway for checking our WhatsApp, or for doom scrolling, or binge watching series, or whatever it is that you do in a slightly compulsive way. And in that case, it's like we've built up that route in our mind, and once it's there, once we practice that on a regular basis, it's easy to get hooked into that pattern. The reason why it's easy to get hooked in is because there's a neural pathway that's been developed. It's a road that we often walk down. And with a vision, we are creating new roads for our future. Actually, what we're doing is intentionally building up a new neural pathway in our mind for a behavior, a way of being that we really want in our lives. But because the external circumstances of the vision aren't there yet, we need to do that internally in our imagination. We need to practice it in our mind, and each time we practice it, it fires that neural connection and it builds a little bit of strength. When we practice it over and over, a bit like when we practice all of our compulsive behaviors over and over, it becomes stronger and stronger, and it makes it easier to go there. It makes it more accessible. So I know one of the objections that I used to have to working with the imaginal or fantasy was that I would always be saying, but I want to stay in the present moment. What's the point of working with the imagination? And the thing is that we are imagining all of the time. Anyone who sits and meditates for a decent amount of time will find that the mind is constantly going off into different fantasies. And this is associated with the different neural pathways in the mind, firing, going off, taking us off different places. And we're consciously practicing with our imagination, tuning into a way of being that we really, really want in our lives. And they've known about this for centuries. Even in Buddhist practice, in Mahayana practice, there are visualization practice that are using the imagination to cultivate something, to tune into something. And these practices have a real value. A vision has a real value. It also forces us to grow. If we hold a vision and move towards it, it actually catalyzes our personal development. And for sure, as we move to a vision, we'll come across all of the little areas of weakness, all the areas where we get stuck, and also all of the past traumas that, or held beliefs that make us small. And these two are like little neurological pathways in our brain, the things that happened early on that formed our ideas of who we are. And so when we practice a vision, we step into something much bigger. And that kind of puts pressure on these old beliefs, on these old patterns, so they can pop up and they can be healed. So I think that will do for vision today. And this is really from a shadow work perspective, this is really working with the leader, self-leadership, the sovereign archetype, how we can lead ourselves in our own lives. And of course, it's really, really, really helpful to have support and guidance in spotting those areas that are holding us back. And this year there are specific workshops in my program that focus on this self-leadership. So if you want to know more, I'll put a link beside this. But that's it, I think, for now. That's all I wanted to say about vision. And if you have one, or if you're building one for this coming year, I really wish you success, and that you find all that you need to create these changes that you really want in your life.